was my question. I don't know the answer. You guys do. The amount of hours that I spent in trying to disappear would blow your mind.
A Wisconsin man goes missing after a late-night kayak trip. At first, it looked like a tragic accident, but the truth was far more shocking. A deleted browser history, secret debts, and a romance halfway around the world would soon come to light. Much of the shocking footage you're about to see has never been seen before. This is the shocking case of Ryan Borgward. On August 12, 2024, the Green Lake County Sheriff's Office in Wisconsin received a report of a missing man. According to his wife, 44-year-old Ryan Borgward had gone kayaking the night before at Big Green Lake, near Dodge Memorial Park. The last message she received from him was a text at 10:49 p.m. saying he was heading back to shore. But when she woke up around 5 a.m. the next morning, Ryan still wasn't home, and he wasn't answering his phone. A responding officer headed to Big Green Lake, where they quickly found a troubling sign: Ryan's car, abandoned just a few feet from the shoreline.
Come to you or stay north. It is unoccupied, so stand by. Talking to the wife, he forgot an oar, so he was out on Big Green paddling with a net, so he very well could be out there yet. I'm gonna use my bino, see what I can find out.
More officers arrived at the scene, and it wasn't long before they discovered a second ominous clue: a flipped kayak bobbing in the middle of the lake. Attached to it was a life jacket, fueling their fears that Ryan had drowned. Search dogs and drones were deployed to scan the surrounding land, but there was no sign of Ryan. That left only one possibility: he was in the water. Authorities brought in sonar equipment capable of detecting submerged objects up to 10 feet deep to search for Ryan's remains. But strangely, there was nothing. No body, no signs of distress, just a kayak and a life jacket floating alone. In the following days, multiple dive operations and cadaver searches were conducted, but Ryan was nowhere to be found. Attempts to trace his phone failed. It appeared to be turned off. It was as if Ryan had vanished into thin air. The search expanded from days to weeks, eventually stretching out to 58 days. As 2 months passed without a single lead, investigators began to suspect that either something very odd occurred and Ryan was outside the area that had been searched, or something else had occurred and they were looking in the wrong place entirely. They reached out to other agencies, including the FBI, Homeland Security, and the U.S. Border Patrol, hoping for help in locating Ryan. But what they got was something completely unexpected. On October 7th, they were informed that Ryan's name had been run by law enforcement at the Canadian border on August 13th, just 1 day after he was reported missing. That's when they began to suspect that something wasn't adding up. Soon after, investigators obtained Ryan's laptop from his wife and started digging into his digital life. That's when the investigation took a dramatic turn.
We recovered that he replaced his hard drive on the laptop. He cleared the browser on the day of his disappearance. He sank the laptop into the cloud on August 11th. He took photos of his passport. We found out that he moved funds to a foreign bank, changing his email and communication with a woman in Uzbekistan. Took out a $375,000 life insurance policy in January, and he purchased airline cards. Due to these discoveries of the new evidence, we were sure that Ryan was not in our lake.
Investigators quickly uncovered a string of suspicious actions leading up to Ryan's disappearance. He had recently replaced the hard drive on his laptop and cleared his browser history just a day before he went missing. He'd also taken out a new life insurance policy worth $375,000, purchased a $920 airline gift card, and made inquiries about transferring money to foreign bank accounts. Perhaps most telling was that Ryan had reported his passport as lost or stolen, and received a replacement on May 22nd. But his original passport wasn't missing at all. His wife found it easily inside their home. She also revealed another surprise. Ryan had secretly racked up $14,000 in credit card debt on an account she hadn't known existed. But the most revealing discovery came from Ryan's laptop. Investigators found romantic messages exchanged with a woman in Uzbekistan who went by the name Katya Smith. In one message sent in April, Ryan wrote, "Katya, I promise to you that I will love you for the rest of my life. I want no one else. I want to share a life with only you." It was clear the two were establishing a serious relationship and possibly planning a new life together. Based on this evidence, the Green Lake County Sheriff's Office began to suspect that they finally knew where Ryan was. Using the email addresses found on his laptop, deputies attempted to contact both Ryan and Katya on November 8th. While Ryan didn't respond, Katya did, and she confirmed what investigators had begun to suspect. Ryan was alive and living with her. Eventually, she agreed to have Ryan reach out, and a few days later, he did. Ryan exchanged messages with a detective for the next 2 weeks, before they finally convinced him to board a plane and return to the United States. On December 10th, 2024, deputies met Ryan at O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. He was taken into custody and transported back to Wisconsin, where he was placed in an interrogation room at the Green Lake County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome, like I said at the airport, welcome home. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you coming to the Sheriff's Office so we can begin this process. You and I have been able to have a really open conversation, I think, through the course of the last, what has it been now, over about a month, I guess. And I think in some ways you've kind of bared your soul to me in some of that. You know, in some ways you have really given me an understanding of maybe where you're at on certain things. And I think with all that in mind, again, I am very impressed by the fact that you decided to return, and you're hopeful that you can make things better than what they are now. Start us out, you know, with the morning of August 11th, and in your words, tell us what happened and where it went. And
That week before I was committed to doing it. Everything. I was looking at the weather because I wasn't going to do this in a bad storm. I'm not going to bike in rain or something like that. So I was looking at either Sunday or Monday night as being the time. That bus, I didn't have the plane ticket, so I could buy that at any time. I knew Monday, Tuesday, those are the cheaper plane ticket days. That bus out of Madison, it goes to like the Twin Cities all the way through. I mean, it happens like every day at that time. So I just had to try to, everything kind of hinged on me hitting the 10 o'clock bus. So, and then, I'm sorry, but you guys just happened to be in then Sunday morning, woke up, just kind of turned off emotion, I guess, and went from there. Did church, came back from church. And then got back home from church, and then I knew that I had to go back to the shop because I had a lot of things I had to get done yet to prepare for tonight or that night. And that's when I got like the last couple things I was going to grab. Loaded up the trailer and then drove to the shop. The shop is where I had the bike for a couple weeks. I had that stored, and then I had a bin of a bunch of things that were ready to go that had been accumulating over the last few weeks. Probably got to Green Lake maybe about 10-ish. I was just turning left from the highway on the southwest corner of the lake onto the county road towards the park, and one of your squads was just passing me. I was like, okay. Got the kayak out, freaked out because I forgot the paddle. Ended up figuring out a solution. So, but I think I stashed some bags, and I was, as much as possible, I didn't want to go back to the trailer because I wanted to just avoid it. It also meant I would have had to have a key on me again, I didn't have a key with me. I wanted to leave all the keys in the tackle box. So anyways, I had the stuff on the trees line and long grass on the north side of the water, on the north side of the county road that's down there. And had the car parked in the south parking lot. Hopped in the kayak, grabbed my stuff, and started paddling out there. The net sucked, but it wasn't awful. There's a headwind that helped get me out there quickly.
In place of a paddle, Ryan used a fishing net to row his kayak to the middle of the lake, which, as you can imagine after seeing the size of the lake, was a strenuous task that took over an hour to accomplish.
And then I got out there and I was probably about ready to do it, but then like boat after boat, it seemed kept coming off the water, and I'm like, are you for real? Like, I didn't want to do it when someone was still in the water, so I was trying to wait for someone to not be in the water. And I don't know if they were just fishing late at night or if they were watching the northern lights or a combination of both, but I ended up staying out there later than I wanted to stay. And then at some point I decided to do it, so tossed the phone further to the north from where I was, inflated the boat, hopped in the boat, took a while to get adjusted and situated, flipped over the kayak. I was still getting situated and adjusted. The kayak was out of sight, and then another boat came off the water. So I was freaking out again that that boat was going to see the flipped over kayak, but they never did. So I countless times I said, "Why am I doing this?" But I had to take a lot of breaks because it was just physically, besides mentally exhausting, besides only having cereal for a meal that day and nothing else the whole rest of that day for food or water. I guess I did have water later in the afternoon. But I just kind of kept going and going. Finally got to shore. I have no idea how long it took, but it took forever in my head. I thought I saw some lights on the street, so I thought I had a good idea where I was. Took that first step out of the boat, and I was like, yes, a rock, and great. Took a second step out, and I went all the way down into the muck, into my waist. And then the next step, all the way down into my waist. And then the next step, all the way down to my waist. And if the first part wasn't tiring, the second part was awful. And then I was carrying the inflatable, which had a duffel bag on, and if you've ever been in that mess over there, but I don't know, 8 to 10 foot cattails and muck. So it's kind of awful. I decided to run across the highway quick, hop in the water. I basically took a bathroom here, down, got all the mud off. Then I came back across the across the highway, and I saw like I mean, from what I could see in the moonlight, it was just like, I forgot if there was moonlight or not, but to me I could still see pretty clearly that night. I saw all these muddy footprints right across the county road. And it's like, that's a problem. I had way too many. I had 3 bags. It's way overweighted for that bike ride. I had never started the bike before, so I didn't really know how it was supposed to work. It's 1 or 2 or somewhere in that time right now. It's pretty quiet on that stretch, and I had did a lot of research on a quiet stretch because that was something I was really afraid of, is being on a bike at night, getting hit by someone, and then actually dying. Very nervous about running out of battery power because I knew I wouldn't have the stamina to probably pedal the rest of the way, and I didn't know where the batteries might run out. I mean, it's 70 miles, we're up 66 miles, it's not a short trip. I had 2 batteries I had to spare. Each one was supposed to go about 44 miles, but that doesn't take into account elevation changes and everything else.
After hopping on an electric bike and leaving Big Green Lake, Ryan rode nearly 70 miles to the city of Madison, where he ditched his bike at a park and walked 45 minutes to the bus station.
The bus ended up being about 10 minutes late, so that was kind of nice, because I got there right about 10. Hopped on the bus, and that was that. Bus went to Milwaukee. It has a short stop there, maybe 10-15 minutes or so. A few people off, a few people on, then on to Chicago. Chicago, there was a bus transfer. Excuse me. That was maybe an hour or 2 that I had to sit and wait in the Chicago terminal. Then the Detroit bus. hopped in there. I think I told you in all seriousness, Greyhound is highly underrated. It was a nice trip, so for what it's worth. Went up to Detroit. So I think I got there late at night. Had one more bus switch, which is the one that takes you across the border. Got to the border crossing. We all got off. I was slightly nervous about this point because I had to go through some security. I wasn't entirely sure what was going on back at home. I didn't know if it was like a missing persons or if it was a drowning or what was going on over here. So I pulled out the passport. The first security guy asked to see my driver's license, and I said, I don't have my driver's license. He's like, he was pretty agitated that I didn't have my driver's license, and I said, but I took a bus. I'm my normal self, where I'm kind of just cordial and whatever, and I said, but I took a bus. Like, per the rules on the Greyhound website and everywhere else you look, you just need your photo ID of a passport to cross the border. That guy didn't like that answer, so he pulled me aside and had me sit there. And then another guy ended up coming over and talked to him. And they were starting to get a little suspicious about whatever. And, he started to ask me about, like, why are you coming to Canada? And I said, I'm taking a bus trip up to, I didn't lie to them at all. I said, I'm taking a bus trip to Canada, to the airport here, and I'm going to fly out to go on a trip. And I just thought the bus trip would be fun. And he's like, well, show me your plane ticket. And well, my phone was dead at the time, and I technically didn't have a plane ticket, so he didn't like that answer either. And I said, seriously, my phone literally just died after, sorry, right after that parking ride. I sent like one message to Kai saying, I'm here, I'm on the bus, so far so good. Hope you're doing well too. Or discussion or whatever. To me, obviously, it seemed like forever, but maybe it was only 15, 20 minutes total. He let me go back on the bus and then got to the airport. So, got to the airport. As soon as I got to the airport, I bought a plane ticket. So, I had hoped to try to use an Air Canada gift card because I thought that would be a way to, I guess, have another layer of confusion as far as just making it more difficult to kind of find out where I went. But gift cards, if you buy a gift card at any given place in America, they're only good in the U.S. And Air Canada is a gift card purchase in Canada. So I needed a gift card. I needed a way to purchase an international purchase. I ended up finally finding a way in my research that Western Union is the only one that offers an international way to use a debit card. So the Air France flight was amazing. The food was fantastic again, probably because I hadn't really eaten real food in a couple of days. Landed in Paris. I think about that time I did pull up the computer and kind of see what's maybe going on over here. I was interested, obviously. A little turbulence coming into Tbilisi. Not such a big deal. Landed in Tbilisi. Was, I don't know, maybe just because I don't do stuff like this or paranoid or whatever, but I guess I was a little nervous going through. I thought it was gonna be kind of difficult to get through customs in Georgia. Got in line, got to the counter, take your cap off, smile for the camera, give them your passport. They look at you, looks at the passport. He says, "This your first time in Georgia?" I said, "Yeah." "Welcome." "Really?" I just I don't know, because I just thought there'd be something like, "Why are you here? What are you doing?" "No, not really." Terminal. So I did open up my computer and I did try to send a message over to Kaya, just saying, I'm here. I hope we can still meet about this time. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do here. Maybe an hour or so, she finally ended up coming in and we met and hopped in a taxi. And yeah, went to a hotel. So
Taxi to a hotel Wednesday night, and then we get back to
we
that.
stayed in Tbilisi till what, Sunday? Just kind of sights out the city. Everything else aside, if you're looking for a cheap getaway, it's a beautiful old city that truly I never felt like, I mean, me being a Wisconsin boy, you feel out of your element a little bit because there's like open markets and bantering and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess I was never in a dangerous situation. I didn't really I didn't hang out at night in crazy places. A lot of people want to sell you stuff, obviously. But otherwise, it's just a beautiful city.
Yeah. Spent a lot of time there. You were there for
4 months.
4 months, yeah. We were here for that.
Sorry.
That's all right. No,
not having as much fun as I was.
no, probably not. Probably not. One of the things that you mentioned too, and I should probably stop firing so many at you at once, but one of the things you mentioned was the Air Canada to add a layer. Talk me through some of that planning and some of the things that you did and why you took the
I made it, it'll probably all get me in trouble by saying everything. So. But
I mean,
I guess, if your goal is to disappear, then you would do everything in your power to try to disappear. No? I mean, if the whole, it's virtually the amount of hours that I spent in trying to disappear would blow your mind. Last year, the things that you have to do now in 2024 to make that possible, it's almost impossible. I knew there would be cameras that I would be in front of. I knew there would be a situation where you have to flash your passport. You're attempting to do this without breaking the law in any way, right? I mean, so as soon as you do a fraudulent, if I have a fake passport made or other things like that could occur, then you're obviously definitely breaking the law and you're definitely getting yourself in trouble. So I wasn't like talking to some Joe on the street to get something made, or you're doing everything as legally as you can to not get in trouble as much as possible. So I guess everything kind of hinged on me dying in the lake. If you come to the lake and 10 minutes later you realize I'm not there, then you're not going to look for me. You're going to look elsewhere, and then it's going to be a real short trip to Georgia.
So, essentially it was in an effort to create as much of a layer of secrecy as possible. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not. I guess I'm not. Yeah. I guess. Obviously, the whole idea was to sell the death. If you don't sell the death, you don't.
Right. You wanted to make it as.
I knew at some point. I just didn't know how long it would take. I didn't know if the whole idea to going to Canada to fly. So I could have flown out of America.
Good.
Except that I'm almost certain as soon as you run a missing persons thing, I'll pop up, the passport pops up in America. Almost certain it'll happen right away. Canada, I'm like, do you have to ask for that information from Canada? I'm sure you'll get it, but you have to ask, or is it automatic? And that was my question. I don't know the answer. You guys do.
We share it with you, but we're concerned as to how you would use it.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
But so I knew at some point it was probably going to be found. So I guess I was doing every effort to limit how much and when. And the plan that I came up with was the best that I could come up with to limit And I guess truthfully, I got it in 60 days or something before you guys started living somewhere else. I mean, it sort of worked. Yeah, I mean, you have to obviously, I'm here. I'm in the lake. I'm not anywhere else. There's not even a hint of a reason to think that I'm somewhere else. The whole, well,
It worked.
the whole idea of a computer, I knew, there's people way above my pay grade that can resurrect files and do things like that. So I'm like, okay, so I need a new computer, I need a new hard drive. The only thing I did wrong is I copied over one too many things with the iDrive for Emily, and I was trying to be helpful, but that's what happened. So, anyways, but otherwise, you would have. The only thing really you should have known is that I passed the border. I passed the border, went into Canada. I flew out of Toronto on an Air France flight. I landed in Tbilisi, and poof. I don't know. That was the idea.
Right. If you could do things different, what would you have done differently to make you more successful in your attempt to?
It's totally like I write a book now.
Yeah, I know. So there's the part where you get to teach us a little bit, right? Because
is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know.
If I could do it differently, it would be a more drawn-out process. That being said, I would not have emotionally been able to do that. And I guess what I mean by that is there were a lot of things that I cut too close to the wire, that were too close to August. Even like the computer stuff, and just too many things that were kind of last minute. And I just couldn't. It wasn't until maybe that last month where I finally all of a sudden discovered that Western Union has an international way to buy something. I was like, because it was, everything. Sure, I can maybe get to Toronto Pearson, but if I can't buy a plane ticket, I'm not getting across the Atlantic. So everything really kind of hinged on that. So when I talk about not really sure I was going to do that till. When did I finally discover Western Union? Maybe June. It was getting kind of late down there, June, July. Those last few pieces started to kind of fall together. So I guess, yeah, if someone really wanted to do it, I think you could. You would just, it has to be more over a couple of years. Or maybe, more over a couple of years and get a few things established.
I'm just kind of curious, like, what kind of research did you have to do to make this happen? Just from my own curiosity. Like, what kind of things went through your
I guess
head?
the question is, I looked at some other places to potentially die, places closer to home. There's a ton of water in Madison that's right next to the park and ride that would eliminate, $1,000 purchase of a bike. It would eliminate a very questionable overnight 70-mile bike ride. That's a wild card. And so I looked at some of those, but there really weren't. Some of those lakes are deeper, but there is no place for you to, I guess, quietly come back on shore. That was one of the parts of research. Then it was the research of, the whole research of how do you get over from North America to Georgia. And I kind of said some of that before with the credit card purchase. Maybe. Yeah, like I said, you would have planned a lot more advanced to have some of those cards kind of ready to go. Because I think a lot of those cards have 2-year expiration dates anyways, so you could buy it 2 years ago and have it sitting around and no one even knows you have it, and then you just decide to use it. That's that. I did some research on, how plausible is it to, I guess, how deep does the water have to be for you to potentially just totally vanish? And then you find out that, I don't remember what the exact number was, but if you get down deep enough, it's cold enough where your body may not bloat to come back up at the top. So that's obviously a thing, because if you die in 30 feet of water, you're going to float to the top. You're never going to sit down at the bottom. So you can't go any of those places. You got to go somewhere deeper. What else could I say I did research on? Just so much research on how to spend money. internationally. Without having anyone notice that you're doing it. Yeah. Lots and lots and lots and lots.
Everybody's a little bit perplexed as to why you took this path.
Guess in the end it came down to the feeling of failure in about every aspect of your life. So, hoping to be remembered for better things, not all the other mistakes that you have, and if you don't have the best communication relationship with your wife, it's, I don't know, hey honey, I might lose the house, or I don't know, those kind of things aren't super fun. I think just the inability to feel like you can talk to your wife about some of this stuff, and maybe the complete hopelessness that you have in the situation that you're in. And you end up meeting a friend somewhere on the other side of the world that sort of has a somewhat similar story, and then you just end up becoming friends, and then the friend thing ends up turning into more, but you didn't really plan on it. It wasn't your intention. So a door kind of opens up for a way to possibly make some things work like that. I didn't want all of a sudden, you guys to call the State Department to get involved, and all of a sudden Georgian officials would become like storming an apartment complex to make sure I'm not dead somewhere.
Right. Okay.
I thought that was a legit concern.
Yeah.
So.
And just one thing that you referenced there, you had verified her existence to make sure that you weren't being scammed. And some of the things that you requested included her passport, right?
No, actually, she gave it to me on her own free will.
Oh, she gave it to you on, okay. So, but that was something that provided you some confidence that this was, in fact, a real person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked to you. So.
And we were I gotta say that we were very concerned that you had been scammed. And, I guess we're aware of situations similar to this.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Yeah. The only thing that we didn't have was, the whole kayak portion involved and other things that we had looked at. So that was maybe a little different. But, at the outset, we definitely were concerned that was maybe what had occurred, that you had been, scammed and convinced into doing this in order to leave the country, and perhaps they would get whatever money you had on you and access to certain accounts and things of that nature and clean you out and then dispose of you, and no one would be any the wiser, right? Because you're still missing in the U.S. So during the course of that conversation and email between you and I, at any time did you feel that you were being coerced or lied to or fed information that was inaccurate?
Early on there was a lot of not sure what's going to happen. I guess hope for the best. My goal was to not. I didn't want to get in trouble. I don't want to. You know my record, obviously there's nothing there, but so I wasn't trying to. I was trying to be as honest with you could. The only thing I just didn't want to. I was just concerned about my location yet. I didn't want to give that up. I know. I figured as soon as you had hers, it wouldn't really be that hard to find us anyway. So, because you do have to flash your passport for a few things when you do things.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important to note in all of this that, again, you came back on your own. You chose to come back. You chose to keep communicating with us.
Yeah, I guess I would point out, as soon as you reached out to me, as soon as you asked it, I started talking to you.
Yep. And at any point during that communication, you could have stopped. Right? So I can tell you from my perspective that that always gave me hope that that there was a chance you would do the right thing and come back. So that was interesting for me to understand and just to ask you about. Because again, at any point you could have said,
I know you had no idea either. I'm half a world away, and you don't know who I know. I have friends over there now. I mean, like really, and also I'm talking to the pastors on the way here. I'm one or two people away from working in a small mountain village, and you guys might never see me again.
right,
I could be a migrant. Seriously,
Right.
They do grapes and whatever else vineyard over there.
right.
Psh, I'm gone.
In the end, Ryan's decision to come back to the U.S. was a voluntary one, as there's no extradition treaty between Russia and the U.S., meaning Ryan could have stayed in Russia without fear of being apprehended. And while leaving your wife for a woman in a foreign country isn't a crime, the sheer amount of police resources, effort, and time he wasted by faking his death couldn't go unpunished. Ryan was ultimately charged with obstructing an officer. In August of 2025, he was sentenced to 89 days in jail, the same number of days that the police spent looking for him. He was also ordered to pay $30,000 in restitution to law enforcement to repay what they spent looking for him.